Welcome to watercolor tutorial how to paint this beautiful peony, and we'll show you step by step how to paint a realistic water drop. An outline drawing is done, which is available for download together with a reference. Link is down below. With the elastic eraser, I'm removing the excess amount of graphite off the paper. Now let's mix watercolors. Apply water to your color palette. Start with Permanent Rose, and for the second mix, a little bit of Permanent Rose with Manganese Violet, a little bit cooler pink color. Third mix, Permanent Rose with a little bit of Sennelier Red for warmer and a little bit darker color tones. And fourth mix, I'm adding Indian Yellow. Now let's start painting. I'm painting one section at a time, one petal at a time. After mixing watercolors, be sure that your water is clean. Apply water to your petal, just enough for watercolors to be moved with brush. They're not flowing around, just enough. And starting with Sennelier Red mix, applying with round synthetic brush, starting from the darker area, taking mix of Manganese Violet with Permanent Rose, and carefully study your reference. See how in one petal colors can change. It's not just a pink peony. There are pinks and reds and yellows and violets. We need to capture all those tones to make this peony look realistic. You need to test those pigments that you already have in your paint box. Sennelier Red can be changed to cadmium red, Indian yellow to cadmium yellow. Experiment with those pigments that you already have. Try to mix and learn and get to know really your watercolors. Applying while the surface is wet, moving my watercolors. Be careful with the edges of the petals that are right on the both sides of this petal. With a clean and dry brush, you can wipe the pigment of the lightest areas while the surface is wet. It is very easy to do while the surface is wet. Watercolors can be lifted, and I have underneath the first layer visible graphite marks of the water drop area. And while the surface is wet, with clean and dry brush, I'm wiping that area of pigment from the water drops. I'm not using any masking fluid to cover the area for water drops. Everything is doable with your brush. Wipe the area of the paper from pigment in those areas where are water drops. While the surface is still wet, I'm adding cast shadow area with a finer tip brush. Be careful with the edge of the petal that is on the left side. Look at the reference, how that cast shadow area is placed, how it goes. It is not going straight, it has curves. We need to capture and see all those details. Everything is important in realistic painting. And I'm smoothing the applied layer of watercolors. A little touch of cast shadow and we already have a big difference even in this very early stage of painting. Applying a little bit more of the pigment to the darkest area with the very tip of the brush. move watercolors. Surface is still a little bit moist, so watercolors can be smooth and applied. Don't rub too strong with your brush. Next layers are more of finer brush strokes on the dry surface. Be sure before applying next layer that your surface is dry underneath. Now let's paint a water drop. I will show you step by step how to paint a realistic water drop. First, I'm applying shadow area behind the water drop. I'm using the same colors that I have on my color palette. Still painting very lightly. We can always make everything darker. It's important to start lighter. With watercolors it is harder to make something light, so always try to do lighter and then gradually make it darker. Next, with the very tip, I'm applying darker line inside the water drop on the left side. This is the shadow area. A little closer look. Everything is dry around. It's important. And now with the very tip of the brush, I'm leaving little white marks where we have a shiny area on the water drop. Look carefully at the reference. Everything is visible there. Those shiny marks, just painting around with the brush. We don't need to use white color or masking fluid. Everything is doable with the tip of the finest brush. And now applying behind those shiny areas a continuing layer of shadow area, and carefully with the very tip of the brush I'm smoothing the applied shadow area. And as you can see, instantly this round subject looks like a realistic water drop. Be sure to keep outer edge round and sharp. Look at the reference, study it carefully, really zoom in your reference, and you will notice where are shadows behind the water drop and inside the water drop, where are the shiny areas. Now we can just make a little bit stronger shadow area inside the water drop and a little bit stronger behind the water drop. And as we will continue to paint this peony, layer after layer we can add more darkness to the shadow. Continuing with painting, and now is all about layering, layer after layer of transparent watercolors. Slowly and patiently, carefully studying your reference, continue painting. Look at the reference, see where are changes in tonal values, in color tones. Full-length tutorial of this peony flower painting is available on my Patreon and is divided in 2 parts. Now at the finishing stage, I have all tonal values in places, all colors in places, and I'm looking at the whole composition together and adding final details. Detailing in realistic painting can go on and on. The only limit is time and your patience. And for patience, my recommendation is take a break, come back after a cup of tea or coffee, and just keep painting. Push yourself a little bit further and enjoy the process. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching this tutorial. Hope you learned something new. See you in my next tutorials. Bye bye.